everyone, Darren Hunter here, and also Deniz Yusuf. We are with the PM Growth Experts podcast show. This is a video recording, but we also have versions available in the iTunes podcast as well as on Podbean if you have an Android device. But today we have Adam Freitas, who is a BDM with Raine and Horne Newtown, based in Sydney. Now, Raine and Horne Newtown manage around about 1,600 properties, which is certainly quite a big portfolio. But also, Adam, you won the Real Estate Business Award, BDM of the Year for 2018. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me on.
That's cool. Now, Adam, now before we just speak more and we have a chat to Adam, I just want to give a quick plug for EBM Landlord Insurance. And I just want to, we've got to be very careful about the advice that we give towards landlord insurance, but you need to make sure that your owners have quality landlord insurance. Now, Adam, as a BDM, when you're out there and you're putting forwards, now I know you guys do use EBM landlord insurance. When you're putting towards your prospective clients about using or having quality landlord insurance, what do you say to make sure that they sign up with the with the correct policy? What do you say?
For me, it's simple. You look at the supermarket type of landlord insurance policies. You look at the bank landlord insurance policies. You look at the NRMAs, the companies that just package everything all up. And some of them don't cover you for much. So we know EBM's policies are great. I always recommend my clients read through all of them to make sure that they're comfortable with the policy. But for me, when we ever make a claim, it's always very simple, and I know protection's there.
Yeah, and look, just and absolutely. I mean, there's nothing like an owner making a claim. For example, a methamphetamine laboratory, the place is really, really contaminated. The cleanup bill is going to be $60,000 plus. And he finds out with this supermarket brand or bank-sourced landlord insurance that he hasn't got cover. That's a very, very nasty timing. You don't then want that owner getting a smart cookie lawyer and then putting a claim on the agency, trying to reclaim losses because your qualification of tenant was somewhat questionable as well. You don't want to get into that stuff. Very quickly, for our Americans, landlord insurance is very, very new to you. It is old school here. We've been using it since the early 90s. Quite frankly, as an owner myself, I will not have a property managed without quality landlord insurance. Right now, you have a new product on the scene over there, which is SureVestor, S-U-R-E Vestor. Go and look it up, surevestor.com. And certainly from the policy that we've seen there, it's a good one. Go and check it out. Anyway, let's move on. Adam, very quickly, you've told us in the last 12 months, you've signed up 200 new managements. Well done. Now, also, Adam has an average rent of around about $700 a week, which is around about $3,000 a month for our American viewers. And over 6 years, Adam, you've signed up 1,200 properties. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Cool.
Yeah, certainly a big achievement. Anyone listing over, 150 properties is very good. I mean, obviously, if someone signing up 100 properties, if they're managing a whole pile of properties and et cetera as well, and depending on each marketplace, but to be part of that 200 club, mate, that's awesome. That's really good. So congratulations on that. But Adam, why did you join real estate? What was it?
I had no other option.
Okay. And why is that?
Tell us more.
That's the biggest response we've had.
You have other options. You just fall into tell us about it.
Yeah, well, I'm one of those. Father had an office. He was a real estate agent in the inner west, and born and bred this area, and I've only ever worked this area. But at school, there was on the weekends you'd help out in Dad's office. You'd go out to watch him and how he does things, and make coffees for everyone on school holidays. Try and look like I knew what I was doing. So I really had no other option. I finished school and there was only one place I was going.
Okay. It's interesting because my parents, as you know, were in fruit and veggies, and I tried avoiding getting into the fruit and veg. So I went and did hospitality, sold vacuum cleaners. I tried not going into the family business. Did that not happen for you, or you just followed suit and jumped in?
I was watching Dad speak to people and sell properties, and I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
I fell in love with, I think from a very, very young age, I realized the power that we have in being able to help people and what we can do for people. So for me, that was awesome to see. So yeah, it struck a chord with me, when I was young, and that's all I really wanted to do.
Yeah, it's certainly somebody who likes to help and give. I mean, I've had the pleasure of seeing you on stage at the Raine and Horne conference last year that Darren and I spoke at, and you were on the panel.
Yep.
And most of the time you go on a panel, Darren, or you see a panel and people don't actually give, but Adam was just like giving. And even the training you were sharing so much at, we did that gig for growth training for the Raine and Horne group last year. The same thing. You kept on putting your hand up and wanting to give. So it speaks a lot about you. So tell us about your area. Like Darren had mentioned that you're roughly $3,000 a month average rents.
Yep.
So you're actually pretty well in the city, right?
Yeah, pretty much. 4Ks. We're in one of the most, when we look at the property market in general, and then the sales side of things, the inner west of Sydney is probably one of the most, probably one of those that is the busiest. It's always going to be strong, even through the up and down cycles. It still remains quite resilient. So, and given that its location is proximate to the city, there's always demand here. So whether you're buying or renting, so for me, it's prices and movement. It becomes one of the most resilient marketplaces in Sydney, in New South Wales, therefore Australia. It's a great place to work. Great place to meet people.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your location. So you're 4Ks from the centre of Sydney. I mean, one thing I like about Newtown is the amazing coffee shops and restaurants that you guys have got access to, that you've also up against a lot of those agents that are got the cheaper fees, etc., and they don't care because you're dealing with high rents as well, and they're just after getting listings to later sell. But a little bit about your actual office as well, if that's cool. So you've got sales, property management. Do you have a leasing agent, or do you do that yourself?
No. So as an office, we have about 26 staff. We've got 16 in our PM team. Yep. And that's a healthy number, I think, to look after the number that we do look after. We are very process driven. We're like a conveyor belt. We've broken down the structure, the system of property management per se, or mostly. It's been BDM, senior property manager, leasing executives. So we do have that covered. So we've got a team of 6 leasing execs. So I don't do any of my own leasing. But I have that communication, that relationship with the client still up until the point that it's leased, and then once it's leased, it moves on to the senior PM. Yeah,
excellent. Okay, so interesting question I'm going to ask you, because it might be a little bit different compared to some of the other questions we've had, Darren. If you were to meet yourself on the first day in going into real estate. Now, let's pretend we're talking about your first official day, not when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Knowing what you know now, what advice would you give yourself if you met yourself walking into the office on the first day? What would be, 1 or 2 key things of advice that, you would have liked to put in place early?
Structure. Just be structured in everything that you do.
Yep.
And be consistent. I think they're the 2 big things I'd tell myself. And I think probably the most important thing would be listen to people. Engage with people properly. Don't sit there and, want to sell your service or, bring your agenda to the table. Sit there, let them speak, let them tell you what their pain points are, what they need from you, or what they need help with. That's the only way you're going to help them. We can all sit there and go, this is who we are, blah, 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 blah. But you're going to walk away, and that person's going to walk away going, well, they said a lot of stuff, but nothing resonated with me. So I think listen to people is probably the number one.
Yeah, it's good advice there, because I was nearly going to put a post on social media last night. The biggest mistake I made when I first started being a BDM was I didn't listen enough. Because
we're all guilty of it.
Yeah, I'm never going to say I never oversold our services, because I'm sure I did, right? But we go in there thinking that they want to hear what we've got to say, but they already trust us, and that's why they've got us in their home in the first place. We've got to listen to what their issues are, so we know how to learn how to overcome them and get the listing. So we were given 2 ears, right, to listen twice as much as what we're meant to talk.
That's right. Yep.
So yeah, it's really good. So if you were to start a rent roll from scratch, so this is going to be an interesting thing from yourself because it's Dad's business that you've come into.
Yeah.
But if you were to start a business from scratch, 0 properties, what would be your 3 key growth strategies that you would put in place? So you got to remember, you don't have a list of leads of like you've got now. So we're starting from scratch. So what would your 3 key things be?
I've always thought about this. This is a good question. It's I think it's important. The things that you need to get a name, you need to make a name for yourself. So right now you may have one. You're coming to a new part of your life, new chapter. What are we going to do? How are we going to do this? So letterbox drop, I think, number 1, and I mean letterbox drop. You spend the money and you just do it, and just keep doing it and keep doing it. Be consistent with it. Until people get frustrated and then they know your name and they know who you are when you're walking in the street. That's what you want. When people comment on Facebook, this person's letterbox up in my street too much, that's a good thing because they know who you are now. So that's one I would do. In today's day and age, social media, hands down, would be something that I would really focus on. Just getting that brand out there, getting those points of difference. I'd imagine that if I was to open in this area here, or in this west area, it'd be something sharp, it'd be something fresh. So you definitely got to get that across. I think you dominate online as much as you can. And remember, and I think Darren says this really well, it's all about how you're perceived in the market. So it's about making sure you're hitting home constantly over and over and over again. So I think social media can work really well for people with that. And the third, I think it would be just, getting out there and making relationships with those, key referrers. Speak to your accountants, speak to your finance people, speak to, bank managers, speak to people that deal with other people buying and selling property.
All those strategic alliances, right? Everyone that's are speaking to investors before they've even spoken to a salesperson.
Yep, get ahead of the game.
Yeah, spot on. That's really good. So 3 really good points there, and I love your first point because a lot of people don't think that letterbox drops works, but it's interesting. It was the first thing you said because really, cost effective wise, you can print out some stuff yourself and just run out and door knock and put letterboxes out there. I mean, salespeople do it because it still works, but people think it won't work in property management, and I don't get that. I mean, you're the salesperson of property management, so it's good. Your online presence and your networking, and you're potentially talking about 3 of my favourite top 10 strategies just there. Okay. So that's really important. Right, Dad taps you on the shoulder Monday morning, and he says, "Son, I'm sacking you on Friday at 5:30 if you don't get me 10 managements." What do you do?
Am I still living at home with him? Because that'd be interesting.
Well, it makes it awkward, but I can't afford to keep you. You're the first person to go. I need 10 managements.
Easy. Current database, current clients. Just hit them. Call through every single person that I have listed over the last 2 years, and you know what? Be cheeky. I'm losing my job at the end of this week if you can't refer someone to me. Who do you know that is looking right now, or who is unhappy now? Who is the most recent barbecue that you've been to, and what did they talk about? It's all about that urgency. So get that urgency out there. I reckon you'd probably list 30.
So my question, Adam, is why aren't you doing it?
Exactly right. Great question, isn't it? Great question.
So it is interesting. You're pulling on the heartstrings. You're picking up the phone. I love that you say, obviously picking up the phone is because that's the thing. You've got current clients. I mean, obviously you've been in the industry long enough now. 1,200 managements that you've signed up over a 6-year period. So that's 1,200 you've listed, and then we've got all of the names and numbers that you haven't listed as well. So your database must be quite big. Yeah, which is really good. And
that's my strength, Darren. Dennis, I think it's about, for me, it's database work. For me, that's phone database that's my strength. That's where I live.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, so that actually segues into the next question. What would be your your biggest rent roll growth strategies? Obviously, picking up the phone, and that's utilizing that database.
Yep.
So, what would be your biggest strategies in listing properties?
So definitely one would be picking up the phone. I mean, that's where I live. That's a space that I live in. It's about making those phone calls. I think a lot of success that I've had actually comes from, I'm quite anal about it. I keep my database. It's not about that quantity all the time. It's about quality as well. And it's more so about quality than it is quantity, really. But I track every single person that I've spoken to. They go into my database. They will get something from me via email. I will call them. They might be happy. Their brother might be a real estate agent looking after their property. I'll still call them. It could be anything, but they will still get something from me until they say to me, like a lot of my probably seniors do, is get out of here, leave me alone, and don't ever call me again. Like that is when, okay, I've annoyed them enough.
Yep.
But for me, it's about persistence. It's about continuously hitting home. I'm listing property today that I missed out on 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, well done. Yeah, excellent. So where else are you? You've got 16 people in property management. So I'm presuming you've got about 8 sales. So sales, how much a percentage would they be in bringing business in?
Look, we've got 2 sales guys.
Oh, 2. Okay.
Yeah. So that's it. So I'm not blessed with a team of 8, 10, 20. I wish I worked in an office like that. I could only imagine. And I'd work them. I'd work every single one of them and get every single lead that they've got. So I can only imagine what that could look like. But for me, on the plus side, even though I've got 2, they're both directors and they've both been selling in this area for the last 15 years minimum. So they do quite well. They're market leaders in this area. So they know a lot of people, and there's a lot of leads that still do come through. So for me, it's about speaking and tracking those people. So I've got all different. If you want to talk database, Deniz, I can tell you from day one before I even meet someone and get their contact, but from day one up until now, I can tell you I run them through a process. I run them through different categories until they're in a place where I know that either 1, they're my client, or 2, they're a missed opportunity, or 3, they're a self-managed or whatever it may be. I know where they are at any day of the week. I can just go in and go, who am I going to call today?
Yeah, that's excellent, Darren. I'm not sure if you saw, but for any listeners out there, we do have the IGT Inner Circle, and at the beginning of January, one of the questions I put out there for everyone was, what are your goals for January? Everyone talks about their yearly goals because it's the new year, but January is just another month. And Adam, I can't remember what his number was for listings, but someone asked how is he going to do it, and he says, well, I'm going to make 400 calls. That was his figures in there. And I went, that's why this guy's an award-winning BDM. And then there was a couple of people asking, how are you going to do that? Because they don't get it. They don't get you've got to make 400 calls to make 200, let's say, potential appointments over a 6-month period and then list so many,
I just want to add, we're actually just about to do a video challenge as well. So people can learn how to use video, even down to 1-minute videos on how to promote themselves out in the market, be perceived as experts. Now, if you're not part of our Facebook group, just go to Facebook and dial up IGT Inner Circle. There are 3 questions that you need to answer. Otherwise, we can't let you in. Make sure you answer those 3 questions and come in and be part of our group. You're going to get challenged. You're going to get skills. You're going to get part of an international group of people that really, really want to grow their businesses, and even just the encouragement as well. We really enjoy what goes on in the group there. But
Adam, you're going to be in that challenge, Adam?
I think I might give it a go this time around.
I reckon it's a good idea, buddy.
Well, we're giving a free ticket. We're giving a free ticket to our Dominate Social 2019 event, which I don't like to promote events in this podcast because it can be dated, but in April, we're doing a 2-day workshop just on social media. So we're giving a free ticket away as part of that. But
I'm in.
Yep, all good. All righty. Adam, quick question. With getting out there, getting before an owner, and he says, well, hang on, the other agents down the road charge 6% or 5%. Why should we go with you? How do you, let's not get into scripts at the moment, but how do you make sure that you go in and get your full fees?
I think it starts from before I'm even there. So sat back and looked at this and thought, when I'm out, people always want to try and get a small win. I get that. But, well, not always, but most of the time they like to get a small win. But I think, how can I try and stay away from that fee conversation, not have them bring that up and make that an issue? So I think it started for me, it started looking at, okay, as soon as I book an appointment or my conversation on the phone, I have a set of questions now that I ask somebody before I even book an appointment. And then once I've made that appointment, I then shoot a questionnaire to them via like a survey monkey. And I ask them to complete that before I go out to see them. So then I already know what maybe some pain points are for them, what they really want from their property manager, what they're expecting. So once I've got all that information, they're giving me that. So I know what to talk about when I'm in front of them.
You're already working out what their hot buttons are.
Yeah, exactly right. And so once I know that, it just makes that conversation that much easier, where they don't even really say, can we negotiate? Do you negotiate? And if they do, I say no. And that's what I need to say. I say no. And then I say, okay, no problem.
I think that's a good point, because what a lot of people don't realize is that it's just that same owner will go down to McDonald's and buy a Big Mac and not ask for a discount. They will go to their local shopping centre and buy a T-shirt and not ask for a discount. Yep. Why do they go to a BDM and ask for a discount? Is because we work in real estate. That means you must be on commission, and therefore it's negotiable, or
yep,
your fees are negotiable. And so we are in the arena where negotiation is seen as acceptable, and simply people just want to have fun. They just want to try you out. In most cases, they just want to see, hey, can we just get a bit more value? But we really do want you. But if you then come back with a really good response, or look, I'm sorry, but I'm not able to discount because, most people go, okay, because they want you more than the discount.
Yeah.
And that's really good.
A lot of people don't get that, Darren. It's a great point. That it's a game.
It's no big deal to them. They still want you. You just have to respond in the right way.
Exactly.
And play the game. Don't offer resistance. Don't get grumpy with them.
No.
Don't look up in shock. It's just a case of just play the game.
Yep. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty, now, okay. Owner says to you, if you can match your management fee with the other agent down the road, what are some scripts that you do use than just saying no? What are some good ways that you can come back, and what's a good response?
One of my favourites, and one that I probably use 90% of the time, is one of yours. I think I'll probably change it around a little bit, but it's more so along the lines of, we've gone through the process, and at each point I asked you if you were okay and comfortable with that, and you understood the process in full, and you said yes, you agreed. Where have I gone wrong, or where have we not covered in enough depth for you to think that we are the same as the agent down the road? Because in terms of offering a service to somebody, it's easy to say one thing, but if they can't demonstrate it, then where does that leave you? And you sort of try and get that response back from someone, see where, okay, and if I think what I found, the more direct and honest you are with people, the more direct and honest they're going to be back to you. So they're not going to dance around the topic anymore. So you hit it on the head. Usually you get from somebody, whether they're just there, you're there to price the property as to keep somebody else honest, and that's okay. Like, it's going to happen. But for me, it'll be like, okay, so you've met with the people down the road. Out of the two agencies at the moment, who do you feel more comfortable with going with? If you had to make a decision right now, who would you go with? And they say, well, if you can match it, we go with you. Okay, so what you're saying to me right now is that you believe that our service will benefit you more than the person down the road, but you still want us to offer the same fee as them. They say yes. They say, well, then does that make sense to you? You know that you're coming, you want this level of service, but you only want to pay for their level of service. That doesn't match. And people get that. They're like, yeah, you know what, that makes sense.
It doesn't make sense. I think that's a great line. I like that. Well done.
You go back to what you do. You break it down to what that cost and price is difference. And it's so minimal. People don't get it. They don't think about it. Half the time, I take a calculator, I'll punch it in and say, look, that's, $3 a week or $4 a week. That's a couple $100 in a year. Your property is $1,000 a week property or $1,500 a week property. That's 2 days rent or a day's rent, less than a day's rent, or whatever it could be. If we lease your property a week sooner, your money's there, you're making more money.
Very well done. You're highlighting to the owner how much you're saving their money for using you up against the what they're paying you for services. You know, I remember one day, it happened a lot. They used to ring me up saying, Dennis, I'm not happy with my current agent. We want to come across to you. After the appraisal, they say, well, will you match their fees? And I simply say, well, you've actually got me here because you're not happy with those fees that you're currently paying, and you want me to match our service with them. And they go, oh, yeah, they just don't think that they get it. And once you've educated them on it, then they understand it. But, I mean, honestly, how many times do people actually ask you for a discount? Out of 10 appraisals, how many would ask for a discount?
Look, you're going to get it. I think if we're talking post-appraisal, like I've done the pitch and we're sort of at that back end now, and we're doing the soft closes in it. And look, I put in soft closes throughout the whole thing. But,
of course.
you know, probably maybe 2 out of 10.
And that's my point.
I think you've done the work initially. You've already done the work. You said you actually work out what their hot buttons are. You've done all that work before you've actually shown up, which is actually reducing. You've increased the trust and reduced the level of chance of resistance. Yeah,
spot on. They've seen his worth. They've seen the company's worth. They get it. And the only reason why some of them might still ask is because of Bing Lee or Harvey Normans. They just go through the motions of, oh, I've got to ask for a discount because that's what society has taught us to do, is ask for a discount, you know. So well done on that. You certainly know your worth, you know.
Well, let me tell you, especially in this area here, look, ultra-competitive market. It's all ultra-competitive industry in general, doesn't matter where you are. But more so here, you touched on it earlier, we have agencies that go low because they want to grow their business and that's the way they think it's best to do it, because they want to sell. They want to try and grow up a database of future sales for them and pipelines. So we've got really big franchise names that are excellent in terms of their sales side of their business, and then their management side. They're happy to do these things so they can fuel that and keep that going. And then you've got other people that have been in the area for so long that you would say are good property managers. You're around for this long, you've got to be okay with what you're doing. And they come up, what I learned is that they can't compete on service. So they look at other things, and they're looking at their fees, or they look at packages, and then all these things of, free marketing and free photography and free landlord's insurance, and all these things start to come into play. And so, they're the speed humps. They're the things I'm trying to dodge whenever I'm at an open, at a listing appraisal. And it makes it even harder. But at the same time, I think you need to show them the value. And the people that respect that, they see that, they respect that, they're the ones who want clients. Let's be honest.
I just want to add a couple more things, Dennis, before handing back to you. We commonly get people, for example, I had a young lady from New Zealand call me. She just started up a rent roll. She said, Darren, my fees are cheap at the moment because I've just got to get the properties on the board. I've got to get the properties in. I said, but you're going to end up getting to those 70, 80 properties. You're going to be really busy. You want to employ someone else, and you're going to hit the wall financially, and you can't. I said, okay, are your competitors down the road better than you? She said, no. So I said, therefore, you shouldn't be charging less. You shouldn't even be charging the same as them. You should be charging more. So immediately we increased her fees to one of the most expensive agents in her city. And her sign-up rates have not stopped. She has not had resistance. But one more thing I want to say, getting back to the power of scripts, because Adam, you've said that they're very important, and you gave some good ones there about overcoming those common fee objections. In our members' online resources, everyone, we've got 10 scripts, tactics to overcome the biggest fee discount request. We've got 10, but also at the moment, we've got around about, we just voiced up and recorded 14 scripts for individual fees, for justification, for lease renewals, for routine inspections, ingoing, outgoing, about 14 different fees on scripts on how to respond when they challenge you on those individual things too. So go to inspiredgrowthtraining.com and talk to us about joining, getting hold of our online resources if you're already not part of that. But anyway, enough from me. Dennis, over to you.
Yeah, cool. Well done. Now, if I can just add to what you're saying about those cheap rivals, I've actually been in an office not too far from you, and on the front, 2.2% management fees is what they promote, and 1.1 for sales.
Adam, can you send me a photo of that, please, or whatever they're promoting on any billboard or whatever? I'd love to see.
No. I've got the video. I'll have to send it to you. I've been into that office.
2.2%. These people are managing property well under break even. I mean, they're going to hit the wall big time. And hey, here's one thing I'd add, because I'm sorry to interrupt again. Tiger Airways right now are discount airline in Australia, the cheapest of all. They're having a pilot strike. The pilots are striking. They're not happy with their pay. And so you can't, pilots still have to be paid properly. And in property management, you've got discount fees. Property managers are not going to work on discount wages. They're just going to, good ones are just going to get up and leave. And this is the problem with these discounting. It just doesn't work.
It's interesting because when I was in this particular office, the air conditioning wasn't on. It was about 34 degrees outside. And I said, I've got to have the air conditioning on if you want me to do some training. This is ridiculous. He goes, oh, no, I can't afford the electricity. I'm going to leave it as that, okay? I'm going to leave it as that. But anyway, so Adam, what are some examples of some tasks or KPIs that you've got in place in getting the numbers that you're achieving? You know, what are some of your what's a routine thing that you might do through the week?
Look, for me, it's all based around prospecting phone call sessions. So that's where everything starts for me. And just to show you so that it doesn't look like that, you know, I am all talk. This is what I've got in front of me on the wall in my office. And I don't know if it makes sense the right way, but that's my KPIs. I have them printed up. So what it says...
Can you read some of those?
It's 2 45-minute sessions per day minimum. Calls 16 to 24 per session. Connections 8 to 12 per session. And then appointments 1 to 3 per session. They're my KPIs. That's what I aim for to do on a daily basis.
Yeah, so you're obviously very heavy on picking up the phone and making those calls. Obviously, you've got a built-up database to be able to do that, which is great. Yeah. But you're recognising that picking up the phone and making the appointments is important, which is really, really good. So that's one KPI, is picking up the phone. So what are some other things that you've got in place for prospecting?
Well, for prospecting, we don't have a set KPI for social media posts. I run that sort of as I see fit.
So that's social media. Then that's an example of a KPI. So yeah. Social media. We're implementing, or we have implemented some letterbox drops, but sort of your 5, 5, 10, or your 10, 10, 20. So that's something that we want to try and really just be consistent with, rather than sort of every third listen do it. We want to do it with every single one. So we're going to build something around that so that we can then be a lot more consistent. So for me, on a daily basis, I'm looking at my social media, I'm looking at my prospecting phone calls, I'm looking at what we've listed and getting that out to the neighbours to let them know that this is happening. So really, I mean, other than that, there's nothing really much more in terms of that I'm KPI'd anyway. I think it all stems from, for me, it's making appointments. Making those phone calls to get those appointments. Those appointments will turn into listings. So, mate, I mean, look, in that, we've got to talk. If I can break down your first example, you sort of talked about calls. You call connects and your appointments booked and then listed. There's 4 KPIs there. So, and then you've got your social media, your letterbox drop. So you've given us some really good examples there. So, what's your you listed 200 properties last year. What's your growth goal for this year, and how you're going to achieve that?
Growth goal for me is just, to be honest, get away from numbers. I think numbers are old now. I think it's look at the other way around. Look at the dollar value. It's about running a business that can sustain itself. Profitability. So that is a focus for 2019. It's no longer about listing 15 for the month, or 20 for the month, or 25 for the month. It's going to be listing X amount of ACV, annual contract value, for the month. And that's where the focus is going on. And so I've done that for probably the last 12 to 18 months, more of a focus on that. And I've seen that number grow and grow and grow. which is obviously means we're more profitable, which means as a business, we're going to be there for the longer run. And also, you know, at the end of the day, I get to take home a bit more money as well.
Darren, that certainly puts a smile on your face, right? And let's be honest. You know, listing 2 quality properties is better than 3 average properties.
I had this conversation when I first started here. I sat down with one of our directors, and he said, "Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to go. Your target's 10 properties a month, and then anything above that, we're going to look at, and we'll work out half a week's rent or something like that, or 10% of X amount. We'll work something out like that, and that's how we're going to do it." I said, "Okay, not a problem." I came out of a BDM role from another office, and guess what their targets were every month? It was 10 a month. Okay. And then, you're speaking with other people in the network and then in other offices, and they're thinking, okay, you're doing okay as a BDM. You know, what should the targets be for everyone? Should it be like, 10 a month? Everyone got this 10 a month in their head, and think that's the only way to tell if someone's doing a good job or not. So then I flipped it around. I sat down with my director and said, okay, no worries. Let's sign up 10 studios every month that are $200 a week. And let's charge them 6%. And then, if I sign 13 or 14 or 15 of them, you'll pay me some commission. You'll be happy with that. And, away we go. So, or what happens if I list 6 4-bedroom houses at $1,200 a week each one? Are you not going to pay me anything? Is the business going to make more money? Are we not in a better position? So, yeah, it's a pretty good point. Let's look at this and let's change things around a little bit. So that's what we really tried to move away from numbers. So let's look at what we generate. What does it cost us to run a property management plan? What does it cost us to manage one property? Work out an average. And we have to go off averages because that's all we can really, because sometimes we're going to work on other properties more than we will others. But how much does it cost me to look after one property on average?
And I'll add something to that. I've done numbers. It's different from every rent roll, but the businesses I've worked with in Perth, we did a survey once. It was around about $1,500 per property per year to the cost to manage.
Yep.
Other places $1,300. So I'll probably say $1,300 to $1,500, maybe $1,200. I mean, in Victoria, they tend to manage a lot more property for their prop managers, but they're not doing as many routine inspections. They're not doing as a lot of them aren't signing up lease renewals as well, so it takes up a bit of the workload. But it's different horses for courses. But it's around about that $1,300, $1,500 per property, very loosely, that we're seeing out there. And the best way people to work that out is just go to your accountant. What's your total property management expenses for the last year? And you're just going to have to work out the shared electricity expenses, all of those sort of things, and then divide in the average amount of properties you've had in that last year as well. What did you have in January and in February, then March? What were those average numbers over a year? Then what was that over each month? What was the average numbers? Divide that in your total expenses, and you'll know roughly what your cost is. And then that allows you then to go and have a look at, well, how much did you pay? Or how much did you receive, I should say, in fees from those bottom dwellers, those C-class owners? And you'll probably find you're not even at break even.
Mate, if you're paying to manage them,
and you're putting up with your crap. You're actually bleeding money to manage those properties, and you're best off just cutting them loose, and you'll actually grow financially by removing them and replacing with a full fee proper property. So some good feedback there. But alrighty, one last question, Adam, and we'll wrap things up. But let's just say you're on stage at the Inspired Growth Conference, and you're speaking to business owners and BDMs, and you've got 1 minute. What's the most important thing you would say to them in 1 minute?
Okay, so other than going on in terms of what I would tell myself on that first day, for me, and I say this I share this. I actually do this when I'm talking at conferences or I'm talking at seminars with the network or going to other offices to help them out. I say, get rid of the worst F word in the English language, and it's called fear. Because we all fear something. We can fear not being good enough. We can fear being good. Because what do I do next? Get rid of that F word and just go out and just do it. And just keep on doing it, keep on doing it, keep on. Don't let anything hold you back, because you're gonna hopefully if we get to live a long life, we look back at our life when we're old and we're going, man, did I waste so much time worrying about what is out there than actually what was actually happening in my office. That's the worst thing you want. And it stops people from being great. That's
Yeah,
right.
very good advice. I mean, fear, the F word covers quite a few different things, and follow up is one of the biggest fears that people have, because we all fear rejection, So, like you said, I mean, it's great that you're listing a property from 2 years ago. That's exciting. And that's that continued follow up. So, obviously, you don't fear picking up the phone, or you don't fear getting on video. So,
No.
that's awesome.
Don't fear being rejected. Like you said, you can't fear that. It's going to happen. If you don't like it, then don't be a BDM.
Yeah, spot on. Excellent, mate. It's been an awesome tips and points you've got there, Darren. The light coming through the windows behind you. Can you close the blinds for us? It's a little bit.
Thank you very much. This is just one of the many offices that I do recordings from, so that's good. But look, that was a great session. Adam, how do people get hold of you if they've got any questions or queries? What's the best way? By email?
I'm more than happy for them to shoot me an email, adam@rhnewtown.com.au. Feel free, guys. I'm more than happy always to share whatever may work for me. And you never know, I might be emailing you back asking you for some tips as well.
Alrighty, so that's Adam at RH for Raine and Horne, rhnewtown.com.au. Thanks so much, Adam. I've had a ball, really good session, lots of good meaty stuff there. Dennis, I know there's more material that we can be doing with Adam. I think we need to do a whole session just on picking up the phone.
Spot on.
There's a whole session there. So we've actually got a BDM coaching series of training videos we're going to do, starting at BDM from scratch. And Adam, we're going to talk to you about doing a whole session with us on that. So well done. Thanks, everyone. And thank you, Adam. Thanks, Dennis. And take care.
No problem.
Thanks,
Take care, guys.
With you soon.